give out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Thursday, June 5th, 2025, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still Super Bowl champions. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Phillies have hit a rough spot. Let's call it that. They've lost 6 of 7 after getting trounced today in Toronto. That was ugly. The Super Bowl champions OTAs, organized team activities, finished up for the veterans today. The NBA Finals start tonight. The Stanley Cup Finals started last night. And it's Delco Day this Saturday, June 7th, as the gang prepares to celebrate its 10th anniversary at Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, PA. Be there. We have plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
Yeah, we do, Bill. A bit of a rough patch of late for the Phils, as you mentioned. Boy, what a difference a week makes.
Right?
No major news regarding the Eagles during OTAs. And, Bill, I know you'll be glued to your TV for the Pacers and Thunder in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I thought I looked up to see if there was like a rerun of Fixer Upper on or something like that.
Man.
I'm not watching.
Okay. Whatever.
Hey, but I will talk about the Phillies because we have a great guest tonight making a return visit to Philly Pressbox Radio and the managing editor of On Patterson, Tim Kelly, to talk all things Phils.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to make sure to talk with Tim at least once a year because he does a terrific job covering the Phils. So let's do that, Bill.
Yeah, let's get to it. Let's welcome Tim Kelly back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Tim, welcome.
What's going on, guys? Good to talk to you again.
You too.
Hey, Tim. Let's talk about the obvious thing, and that is Jesus Luzardo's last couple of starts, man. He got roughed up last Saturday. He got roughed up today. 20 earned runs over those 2 abbreviated starts. What's going on with him?
Yeah, it's a good question that they're going to have to figure out over the next 5 or so days because I don't think Jesus Luzardo just forgot how to pitch. But, I mean, there's bad outings, and then there's the stretch that he's had these last 2 where they've been 2 of the worst outings you're ever going to see. So they need to figure it out. Assuming he's healthy, is he tipping pitches? Is there something that they can tweak? Do they need to skip a start? He has pitched more this year already than he pitched last year. So there's different things to consider here. They need him right for the long haul. So it's an important few days to try and figure some things out with him.
And on the flip side, when you're not pitching well and you can't hit, that's a big problem too. Last night and today, nothing at the plate.
Yeah, that's been my biggest takeaway from this mini slump over the last 6 or so days is that you have 3 guys that you really trust offensively. Harper obviously didn't play over the weekend. He's one. Kyle Schwarber has had a great season, but has been a little more mortal this past week. Trey Turner offensively has been playing really well all season. Beyond that, though, there's just not a ton that scares you. So whether you have Bryson Stott lead off, or you have Nick Castellanos or Alec Boehm hit cleanup, there's at least one spot in that top 4 where you don't feel great about it. And some of that, you just need internal guys to improve. But I don't think that this is necessarily a year where they can just say, well, we'll add a platoon outfielder to go with Max Kepler, and that'll be the big move offensively. I think this is a team that needs to add another bat.
I want to get back to the pitching, though, a bit and talk about Mick Abel. 2 big league starts so far, 11 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, no walks. Very impressive. What is the plan going forward now regarding Mick Abel? I know he's got another start scheduled. And also with Andrew Painter, who did not have a great outing yesterday for Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, Painter didn't have a great outing last night. I still think the target date is at some point in July, but they've said all along could be June, could be August. I don't think that they're going to say, all right, this is his last start at Lehigh Valley, and then the next time he's coming up. I just think one day we're going to be there pregame, and Rob Thompson is going to announce, or even Dave Dombrowski is going to announce Painter's coming up to make his debut whatever day during that current homestand or road trip or whatever the case is. So with Painter, I still think you're a little ways away, but not too far. I do think he will debut at some point in the not so distant future. With Mick Abel, he's pitched really well. Aaron Nola, not entirely sure when he's going to come back. It seems like he had a little bit of a setback. Doesn't sound like it's major, but he's got to make probably multiple rehab starts at this point, and that's after a successful bullpen or two. So I think Mick Abel is going to be in this rotation maybe through the All-Star break, if not longer. And from there, you see where you're at. Does he make sense to keep in the rotation? Is he somebody you could use out of the bullpen? There's a variety of different possibilities for him. But if he's pitching this well, he's going to be with the Phillies in some manner.
Well, you mentioned Aaron Nola. Obviously, he got off to a terrible start. He gets hurt now. You said something that I wasn't aware of. I didn't realize that he might actually get some minor league rehab starts. So are we thinking that he's still, let's say, 3 weeks at best out?
Yeah. Certainly with this setback, I'm not on the road trip, but it sounds like he had in Toronto where he had some stiffness in his side that kind of kept him from making his scheduled bullpen. And then I would assume had that bullpen gone well, he would have gone out for a rehab stint, which he has said, and the Phillies have said he's probably going to do. So it's going to be a little while, or it will have been a little while by the time he makes a rehab start. So I think you're looking at probably multiple, and you want to make sure he comes back and he's right.
Hey, did I miss any Zach Wheeler baby news today? Anything on that front?
Not that I'm aware of, and it sounds like he's not going to be pitching this weekend in Pittsburgh. Yeah. So he's out for this week, and I would assume at some point, if it hasn't happened already, the baby will be born and he'll be back on the homestand. But yeah, I mean, it goes without saying the Phillies miss Zach Wheeler when he's not in there.
Yeah.
Tim, I don't know that this is a blame for anybody, except it's a pet peeve of mine. You know, whenever this 100 pitch magical number came into play, you know, and these guys are taking 5 innings to get 100 pitches or close. Now you need a pitcher for the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. I'm not a believer that you can expect all 4 guys every night to be rock solid. Last night, they got 3 of them were great. 1 of them wasn't. You lose the game. They're not the only team doing it. It's the new philosophy of baseball. Personally, I think it stinks. What you think?
Well, it's not even really a new philosophy anymore. It's the last 10 to 15 years at least. So
still stinks.
I think when pitchers are throwing 100, they're not going to go 7 or 8 innings every single time out. There's a few. Zach Wheeler doesn't throw quite 100, but he has thrown high 90s. Paul Skeens, you're seeing him do that now. But most guys now are 5 or 6 at best. And you're right. You're not going to have every reliever be perfect every night, which is all the more reason you need to score more runs. And the Phillies haven't done that recently. They're so reliant on Harper, Schwarber, Turner, and hope for the best outside of those 3.
Well, we mentioned the bullpen, and that's certainly a concern, as is the outfield for the Phils. What do you think Dombrowski is going to do? Is he going to make a move before the deadline, or maybe even sooner than that, hopefully? Because I just don't think there are enough arms, especially left-handers, in that bullpen.
Well, it's going to have to be a combination of things. The problem is, depending on how long it takes Aaron Nola to get back, and who knows, like if Jesus Luzardo all of a sudden is a question, maybe you don't have the surplus of starting pitching that you thought you had, which if you have that surplus, that allows you to either trade a guy, although if Mick Abel keeps pitching this well, I don't know that anyone's going to want to trade him, but that at least, like in theory, was a possibility. It allows you to move him and or Ranger Suarez to the bullpen later in the season. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to trade for a reliever regardless, but I think you're right. They need multiple additions. They need to remake this bullpen on the fly, really. They probably have 3 or 4 guys in there that are fringe major leaguers right now. They need 2 or 3 arms to come up. And on top of that, I mean, you're talking about 2 guys internally figure it out, make a trade that works, and you need more consistency out of the guys that you have down there. So it's not a good situation bullpen-wise.
Well, speaking of Dombrowski and looking ahead, he's got a situation with Kyle Schwarber he's going to have to deal with here in the offseason. All indications until this week is Schwarber's been fantastic. He's our guy. We got to have him. He's probably we went over this a couple weeks ago. I figure he's going to get a minimum of $40 million a year. He's going to want 5 years probably. Phillies won't want to give him that much. What do you see with Schwarber? Any chance that they let him walk?
I don't know if they let him walk, and unless you're like trying to sign Kyle Tucker or something, I don't know how you let him walk and aren't a significantly worse team. If you think about if this current iteration of the Phillies didn't have Kyle Schwarber, are they even a 500 team? I think it's a fair question. So, yeah. I mean, you are going to have some other guys come up, Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, assuming none of them are traded, but you're going to have those guys come up in the next few years. So you have another wave kind of coming. But Kyle Schwarber to me is someone that's getting better with age, and it is a risk to pay power. It's a risk to pay a guy that really is just singularly a DH. I know he plays left field once in a while, but if you had to move Harper into the DH spot like you did in 2022 when Kyle Schwarber had to play left field, you would not be in a good situation. He really should just be a DH at this point. But I don't know how you let him go offensively, not to mention it's overdone. People talking about this guy's such a great clubhouse guy, but Kyle Schwarber, it really does apply. Anyone you talk to with the Phillies tells you that. So I don't know how they don't let him go. I certainly think the price has gone up. I was thinking 2 or 3 year deal coming in. Now I think you're right, 4 or 5, and it's going to be a higher price than people are comfortable with, but I don't really know what the alternative is.
Tim, let me ask you about Justin Crawford. Like Andrew Painter, he's at Lehigh Valley, and he's hitting very well. He's hitting .340, though he's got just 1 home run. He's only 21 years old, but how big an upside does Justin Crawford have, and when might we see him in Philly?
Yeah, that's a good question. I asked Rob Thompson about a month ago when I was doing a story on Justin Crawford, is he in play this season? And he said, we'll see. I don't know how he would be in play if Brandon Marsh and Max Kepler are still on the team, because it'd be another left-hander, you just would be too crowded. So maybe you have to move on from somebody at some point, and they don't want to rush him. He's putting up really good numbers. I still think it is concerning that he's hitting the ball on the ground about 60% of the time. That is an extremely high rate for even a contact hitter. I do think he needs to develop more power, but it's true. Every level he's gone, he's hit. He can steal bases. He can field really well. And the Phillies are getting virtually nothing in center field. They're not getting great stuff out of left field or right field for that matter. So I understand the temptation. You do have to decide, is he actually ready to come up, or are you trying to speak this into existence because you have an issue? But I get the temptation, especially after the All-Star break, if he continues to produce this well, and you look around, the Phillies have needed a center fielder outside of a few years for Odubel Herrera. They haven't had anybody since Shane Victorino. This has been a problem for 10 years. It's a really hard position to solve. And you look around at the trade market, and I don't think there's going to be any center fielder that is going to swing a pennant race. So, yeah, it's something they have to consider for sure.
Well, and that brings us to JT Realmuto. Injury aside, whatever happened last night was definitely an uncomfortable thing to watch. But he's probably day-to-day going to be back. He's not producing. He's turned into a 225 hitter. He'll probably get better. He'll probably finish 245, somewhere like that. He's always been a better hitter than that. Where do they stand with him at this point?
Well, I think people just need to readjust their expectations. I know for so many years he was best catcher in baseball, and he really was. He's not in that discussion anymore. I don't even know if he's top 10 right now, and that's fine. He can be the 12th best catcher, and he still throws guys out, and he still runs the bases well and will hit better than the average catcher, and that's great. But you need to adjust your expectations. The JT Realmuto that was the second best hitter outside of Bryce Harper in 2019 to 21, it's not that player anymore. And it's going to be interesting when he gets to free agency. I think you'll struggle to find a catcher that's better than JT Realmuto, but I would be hesitant to commit more than one guaranteed year to him. And he's a catcher in his mid-30s that has had a gigantic workload, and this contract in general has aged very well. But if it's going to take a 3-year deal to keep him, I would probably be looking elsewhere in the offseason. So it's an interesting situation they're in, because there's a high level of respect, but it's just the reality of that position.
2 years max is what I would say to JT. Well, Tim, you wrote a piece that folks can find on the On Pattison website about the Phillies 2025 All-Star prospects. We know they won't have 8 guys like they did last year, probably just 3 or 4. Zach Wheeler and Kyle Schwarber, I would think, are pretty much locks. But what about Luzardo after these last?
Well, it's a wrap for Luzardo.
Yeah, he's gone.
That fell apart.
Trey Turner, Bryce Harper. Does Turner have a good shot?
Turner has a chance. Francisco Lindor and Geraldo Perdomo, I would say, have been better. Turner offensively has been an all-star level player. There's always questions defensively. And the Phillies are going to have multiple other all-stars, so maybe he gets pushed out. But he's definitely in the mix. Kind of the same thing with Bryce Harper. Problem with at first base, it's always really crowded. You have Freddie Freeman, who's a lock. I'm blanking. Oh, Pete Alonso is pretty much a lock. Yeah. And the All-Star games in Atlanta, and Matt Olson's having a better season, I would say, than Bryce Harper too. So pretty unlikely with Harper. Not impossible if he has a huge month. But and I think a lot of these guys that have been there X number of times secretly would probably rather just be off for a few days.
Yeah. You mentioned Trey Turner. He's an interesting guy to me from the Philly fan base standpoint. Not overly liked. I don't know if it's the expectation that he came with or the amount of money that it costs. What is it that kind of makes the Trey Turner likability low key?
Well, it's a complicated question because he is performing very well offensively this season. He's been pretty selfless and kind of sacrificing some power to make contact and steal bases, which is what Rob Thompson told them he wanted him to do. So from that regard, he deserves a lot of credit. The defense has been bad. I mean, there's no other way to slice it. It's been maybe better this year than the previous 2 years, but it's still been well below average. And I mean, I think the offense has been at a lot of times really good, but he was brought here ostensibly to be like the number 2 guy to Bryce Harper. And I don't think he's been that. I think Kyle Schwarber has basically taken that role. And I think Trey Turner's a really good player, but he was a great player when he was on the Nationals and the Dodgers. And I don't know that you've gotten that guy. So I think that's kind of where it stems from. I know he isn't like somebody that always comes off as like the most intense or angry when things aren't going well. He's a really hard worker. Like everybody will tell you that. So not everybody shows that in the exact same way. I don't think in that regard that's a fair criticism. But yeah, it's undeniable. The defensive numbers have been really bad since he's been here.
Well, Tim, we mentioned the concerns about the bullpen and the outfield, JT getting older. Is this team, as it's currently built, any better, built for the postseason than the last couple of seasons? I'm not seeing it.
No, I don't think they are. I think they're worse in some regards. I mean, certainly, I know the bullpen self-destructed in the playoffs last year, but going into it, you felt pretty good about what you have.
Yeah.
You don't have Hoffman. You don't have Estevez. Matt Strom is pitching not as well as he pitched last season. Still a really good arm, though. Kerkering has bounced back recently. So it's not like you have nothing, but the bullpen is worse. Lineup-wise, I mean, maybe you're as good, but I don't think you're better. Starting pitching-wise, you're really good. This recent stretch with Luzardo notwithstanding, even with Luzardo doesn't pitch well. You have Suarez, Wheeler, like Nola's going to come back and probably be better. Sanchez, like you have really good starting pitching. That's your strength. And you have Painter and Abel now making waves. So, but there are moves that need to be made, and it's going to be an interesting balance because some of these, for so long, the Phillies haven't developed prospects, and a lot of these guys are close to the majors, but you may have to part with 1 or 2 of them to make the necessary upgrades. And I don't envy Dave Dombrowski for having to make those decisions.
Well, Tim, a few years ago when Bryson Stott was coming to the big leagues, there was talk in the organization that they felt like he had the ability to win a batting title at some point, that he was that good of a hitter. What happened to that guy?
I can't tell you. It's great to work the count, and it's valuable, and I think people behind him have benefited. But some of these times where you have 9 pitch at bats, there's pitch 4 and pitch 7 like you should have put in play.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think he can be leading off much longer, but if he's not leading off, then either you have to put Turner up and it makes a hole at number 2, or you have to bring Schwarber up and you don't have a cleanup hitter. So I don't know. I mean, Stott is a very good base runner, tremendous fielder, but the bat speed has been really slow, and he just hasn't progressed the way it seemed like he might a couple years ago offensively, and it's definitely disappointing.
Hey, Tim, we got to know you during your several years at Phillies Nation, but last fall you made the move to On Pattison, where you're the managing editor. For folks who don't know, tell them about onpattison.com.
Yeah, for sure. We're doing a ton of coverage of all the teams. Phillies are definitely our biggest one, but as you see on there, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, everything. We're really trying to be the one-stop shop for Philly content. So I'm proud of what we have, and only been around for a little over 6 months, I believe. So we're really just getting going, and I think people are going to like our content quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, good question here that got sent in. Why can't the Phillies develop prospects? Let's get back to that right quick.
Yeah, they got a couple now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll wait and see. I think they seemingly have a few guys that are going to be impact major leaguers. Like they've gotten, I can't say that Alec Boehm has been nothing at the major league level, but he hasn't been the number 3 pick. And I think they developed more further back than that. Like they developed Aaron Nola and Rhys Hoskins. Like it's not nothing like it was 10 to 15 years ago. And Orion Kerkering is a guy that they've developed, so they deserve some credit there, but they still need to do more. And this is like the thing they're running up against. You are going to be in a position in a couple of years where a lot of this core is much older. And the biggest problem when the Phillies fell off after 2011 wasn't necessarily, I mean, they had catastrophic injury to Howard. Utley's knees were bad. Like you had some really bad luck. Roy Halladay just physically ran out of gas. I don't think fall-offs are generally that dramatic all at once, but you had no prospects to supplement it. And you're going to need to have a second wave, and seemingly to some extent they do with Painter, Abel, Justin Crawford, Taiit, the catcher, who's lower in the minor leagues, Aiden Miller. Like you have some pieces, but John Middleton said it when they fired Matt Klentak that very rarely in Phillies history have they developed prospects well, and that's something that needs to change. And I think it will change. It has changed to a degree, but we'll be able to have a much better picture over the next year or two as some more of these guys get to the major league level.
Hey, we talked about some of those prospects. We did not mention, although you did, Aiden Miller and that young catcher Taib. How high are they on those two guys as far as, their major league potential?
I think very high, but Taiit is at the lower level of the minors. So you're years away with him. I think he's 19 years old, 18 or 19. So he's a ways away. And Aiden Miller, I think, could be in play at some point next season, but probably not opening day. And I definitely don't think this year. So you're trying to balance the two. And I think despite his reputation coming in, which may not have really been fair, of Dave Dombrowski comes in and blows up the farm system, he hasn't done that here. He set the Phillies up to have sustained success. You're just trying to balance having sustained success, but also getting a championship in the meantime. You don't want to leave this era without anything. You also, though, don't want to be in a situation where in a year or two you're depleted. And again, trading one of these guys, even for the biggest pickup, the two of the most successful trade deadline pickups ever were in 2008, Manny Ramirez and CC Sabathia, and the Phillies beat both those teams in the playoffs. So it doesn't guarantee you win a World Series.
Well, Tim, with what we have today, and looking short term, probably, where's this window stand? Is this window open, or is this window closing pretty quickly with the talent that they have?
I think it's closing to a degree. I mean, Real Muto, you see aging, Aaron Nola, like Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, pretty much every regular on this team is over 30 and well over 30 now. Zach Wheeler put into that mix. I don't think, like, even when Bryce Harper and Trey Turner are no longer like stars, I still think they'll be productive players. But yeah, I mean, time catches up to everybody. It's a matter of when that happens, do you have other people to supplement? The Phillies have been super successful at finding the right guys in free agency. Harper, Schwarber, Wheeler. I mean, not to say they haven't had any misses, but generally they've been really good there. Can you continue to have that stretch? Because most of the time it's a lot more of a coin flip than it's been for the Phillies. So, yeah, we'll see what happens over the next few years. But I would say the window on this current iteration of the Phillies, Harper 1.0, we'll call it, is closing.
Tim, lots of great insight as always. Again, tell people where they can find your work.
Yeah, on Pattison and at Tim Kelly Sports on all social platforms.
Awesome.
Now, do you do, as a follow-up to that, do you do podcasts on Pattison, or is it just written content and like we showed up there earlier?
Yeah, we're expanding some stuff there. I do a Phillies, like a 15-minute video podcast called Phillies Stoplight that's on Pattison that I do at the end of every series. So there'll be a new episode up either later tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Very good. How do you like it? Are you trying to do most of this by yourself? You got a crew working with you?
We got a crew. Anthony Sanfilippo, who's been around for a long time.
Oh,
yeah. Grace Del Pizzo, who's with me at Phillies Nation. Austin Krell does our Sixers coverage. So yeah, we got a good group together.
Good
Awesome.
deal. Good deal. All right, Tim. We appreciate you joining us like always. Always great information, and let's do it again.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you guys next time.
All right, Tim. Hey, Chet. Philly Pressbox Radio is now part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal Phil Stiefel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep, you can find Philly Pressbox Radio there in addition to on our own YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chet, tell us, we're into June now. It's summertime. What's going on at the Irish Rover Station House?
Always a good time, Bill, at the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, especially in the spring and summer. It's nice and hot outside, but they have a patio that will give you some shade. They got a lot of umbrellas up there to keep you in the shade. I love the patio at the Rover. You know by now that the Irish Rover has killer burger Thursdays, dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, happy hour deals Monday through Friday. Oh, plus a $5 Sunday Fun Day menu, and always 24 beers on tap. Another big event coming up this month at the Rover, always a real popular one. The annual Father's Day Car Show. Yeah, right on Father's Day. Sunday, June 15th, the date this year. It starts at 9 in the morning with free admission to all who want to check out the couple hundred plus classic vehicles on display in the Rover's huge parking lot. And a chunk of the day's proceeds benefit the Bucks County Community Foundation. I've been there 4 or 5 times over the last decade, and it is always a good time. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne and on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hey, Whitey man, I miss you. When I listen to the Phillies.
Hi, I'm singer-songwriter and diehard Phillies fan Chuck Brodsky, and you're watching Bill and Chet knock it out of the park on Philly Pressbox Radio. Go Phils!
Hey, Bill, speaking of Phillies, I didn't mention this ahead of time, but I'm going to spring this on you later in the show. We're going to come back and talk a little more Phillies.
Okay.
There was a website in the last couple of days that came out with voter results of the Phillies all quarter century team. So players from 2000 to now, the last 25 years. Some are pretty obvious and easy, others a little tougher. So you and I are going to talk about that later in the second half of the show.
It's all century. So, okay, 2000 to 2025. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That'd be interesting.
Yep.
I have to scratch my brain a little bit. I'm not good on those dates. Hey, OTAs have finished up for the veterans, for the Birds. The rookies are around for another week. Not a ton of news other than everyone's been interviewed, is claiming, hey, we've turned the page. Last year is over. We're going to try to win another Super Bowl.
Well, except for one thing, Bill, they haven't yet received their Super Bowl 59 championship rings. It was supposed to happen tomorrow, Friday, but the ceremony has been delayed, reportedly due to production problems with the jeweler. Come on, man. They were fitted for these rings shortly after winning the Super Bowl back in February, beating the Chiefs 4 months ago, that was. And they were expected to, as I said, get the rings tomorrow, Friday. But nope, not going to happen. There's no immediate word on when the rings will be given out. Maybe now, not till training camp in late July. We'll see.
Well, you know, when you got to put about 1,000 diamonds in 125 rings, yeah, might take time.
I guess so. Well, we did get an update from Vic Fangio on various things the other day regarding the defense. He said Jahad Campbell, still recovering from shoulder surgery, will be used primarily as an off-ball linebacker, not an edge rusher, at least initially. He added that it's expected that Campbell will be able to hit the practice field in August. So, you know, maybe he'll be ready for the start of the season.
Yeah, and speaking of linebackers, you know, we know that Nakobe Dean is still a little banged up, but it sounds like Jeremiah Trotter has stepped up a little bit and may get some opportunity, at least early on.
Yeah, Fangio said that Nakobe Dean likely won't be back in time for the season. He kind of hinted at that anyway. So, you know, we'll have to keep an eye on that. That's a loss because Nakobe Dean was playing pretty well when he was healthy, but he's had a problem staying healthy.
Yeah. Well, didn't hear anything about the offensive guard position and how that played out here in OTAs. That's all been on the quiet at this point. Really didn't hear much about the offense. You wouldn't even know Jalen and Saquon and that bunch were even there.
Well, we've heard a lot from Saquon otherwise, though. You know, he's doing lots of commercials. Somebody asked him about, you know, when he might retire. He said he might just, you know, announce it without a whole lot of advanced thinking. Hopefully that won't be anytime soon. He said could be, you know, a year, could be 4 years. Let's shoot for the 4 years on that front. But, yeah, haven't heard a whole lot from Jalen Hurts this week.
Yeah, and I guess Saquon is hopefully not going to fall into the Madden jinx since he will be the Madden cover boy this year. So hopefully that jinx is long gone.
Yeah, I think so. I think there were a lot of issues, you know, or not coincidences several years ago. I guess Michael Vick was one of them,
right?
A couple others, but I'm sure Saquon will be fine. Although don't expect 2,000 yards again this year. I said that a couple of weeks ago. They're going to throw the ball more, and Saquon is not going to have 450 touches or whatever this year.
He's going to be really good, though.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
As long as they have that offensive line, he's going to be really good. And the way they're going to win the games are continuing to run the ball. So they could talk about wanting to throw it a whole lot more. When it comes down to taking over the game, they're going to punch you in the mouth because they got the best 5 guys in the league to do that with, or 6 if you include the tight end.
We also learned that the plan is to keep Cooper DeJean in the slot most of the time, but he will also be deployed at times as an outside corner or a safety, even when the Eagles do line up in their base defense without a nickel corner on the field. So Cooper DeJean looking to have another productive season. He was really a pleasant surprise as a rookie.
Well, he's so athletic. I mean, they can move him around and do a lot with him, and he can adjust to that. And you know, I think with these openings they have with the guys that they lost, they're going to try to fill these spots with young guys. They might need a guy like DeJean to be able to step in there for a little while until somebody develops, you know, until they're comfortable with them.
Yeah, for sure, Bill. I got to ask you, how upset are you about the Eagles trading away Bryce Huff last weekend?
Well, I tell you what, it's genius. It's genius move again by Howie. If I mean, obviously it was a bust. It was a bust move to sign him, but he didn't hurt them in the end. And if the numbers that we saw are correct, they're going to get a lot of cap space back. It's going to cost them some money, but they're going to get a lot of cap space back. They're going to get another draft pick because they need more of them. That'll make 13 draft picks for next year. So, yeah, I mean, move on. It didn't work out. It's a lot easier to move on when you've won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. They didn't specify exactly what round the pick will be, but most people think it's going to be a 4th rounder or 5th at the worst. So that's not bad for a guy who gave you almost nothing as an Eagle.
Right. And, and I have to give a shout, I think, to Vic Fangio on this. Vic definitely took the high road on what happened there. Injuries, hurt hand, not being able to do some things. And Vic thinks he'll be a very good player in San Francisco. And I thought that was good of Vic. Vic's been around a long time. He knows the game with the players and the players' heads and everything else. And shout out to him for taking the high road there. The
big news today, Aaron Rodgers will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He
was
signed a contract Friday. So I don't know how that's going to work out. But
I don't know how it's going to work out either. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I wasn't an Aaron Rodgers fan in Green Bay.
Well, maybe 10 years ago. I mean, but
yeah, even then, he won 1 Super Bowl. So did Trent Dilfer. So, but when he went to the Jets, he was going to be the savior there. He was never going to be the savior there. And in Pittsburgh, they have that run first mentality. I just don't see it. And if he could really be valuable to somebody, he would have signed before now.
Yeah.
He's just going to plug in, I think.
Gonna be interesting though. I will mention, Bill, the Eagles regular season opener Thursday, September 4th is exactly 13 weeks from today. It is a Thursday night game.
Yep.
And that is 91 days. So there's Fletcher Cox just to show the 91.
Yeah, Chet, something that, and I might have said this the other week when we were talking about this, but something really bothers me because the preseason is so bad now. They don't tackle, they don't play games, all that. So you open up with Kansas City and Dallas, and then Kansas City. You got a couple tough games. So do they also. But, we didn't really see good quality football last year till like week 5. And there's going to be some big games in the books before we ever get to really going. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Now, they cut the preseason down to what? 3 games?
3.
Yeah.
And, they do that. They do a lot of their behind the scenes, practicing at other places, that sort of thing that we don't see as fans. But we saw some pretty sloppy football for the first handful of weeks in the NFL all the way across the board, not just with the Eagles. And, they're big games in the books. They all count in the final standings. And I just hope the games don't come out and be duds.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the Eagles play the very first game of the NFL season on that Thursday night as defending Super Bowl champions.
Yep.
And boy, I hope they smoke the Cowboys just like they did the Chiefs.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Hey, what could be better than a summer of Phillies baseball and tailgating with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang of Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Oh, you know it, Bill. Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years. Known best for their tailgate parties, Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events, parties, you name it. Of course, Cav hosts tailgates before all Eagles home games outside the link. And there will be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this summer as well. There's one before the Phillies and Angels contest and the Phillies Red Sox game in July, both of those games in July. Cav will also be hosting a tailgate outside the link on September 4th before that aforementioned Eagles Cowboys season opener. Get details on all upcoming events at Cav's website, phillytailgates.com. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Catering and Cavs Philly Tailgates, the way to go.
Hey, Chet, NBA Finals are underway tonight with the Indiana Pacers facing off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I got two questions for you. First, do you and the fans even care? And second, are we seeing a changing of the guard in the NBA? There's no LeBron. There's no Steph Curry. None of the regular cast of characters have made the finals. It's a new look NBA, two smaller markets. The super teams, if you will, aren't here. Does that intrigue you, or does it make you want to watch Fixer Upper?
Okay, I care a little bit, certainly more than you, not saying much. But
Right.
as you know, I did watch a good bit of the Knicks-Pacers East Final, after which, by the way, Tom Thibodeau got canned, surprisingly, as head coach. And the series was pretty entertaining. And look, the Pacers-Thunder series certainly won't get Buffo ratings, but the Pacers' Tyrese Halliburton has continued to grow as a legit star in the NBA. Pascal Siakam there, he has been his usual solid self in the postseason. And for OKC, the favorite in the series, Bill, they have a guy who is the clear-cut favorite to win the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is really, really good and fun to watch. He averaged nearly 33 points a game in the regular season, and he's right around 30 a game here in the postseason. And he is one of the new faces of the NBA with LeBron and Steph, those guys you mentioned, kind of fading into the background a little bit now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that the odds makers really are not giving Indiana much of a chance in this series.
Yeah.
After they just pretty much smoked the Knicks.
Yeah, 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, and handled them throughout. They're playing good. I'm just surprised that I would think that it's going to be a little closer. PJ just put up there OKC in 5. He's given no love to Indiana at all. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm probably not going to watch much of it, but I think it's good for the league to have some new blood and maybe a little different philosophy than the super team thing that's ruining the league.
I don't have a major rooting interest either way in the finals, but I will try to watch, at least part of every game. TJ McConnell, of course, on Indiana. He's been there the last 6 or 7 years. And our pal Keith Pompey, by the way, did a real good story on TJ McConnell and some other former Sixers who are involved in this series, either as players or assistant coaches. So check that out, Keith Pompey in the Inquirer. And part of me wants them to win because of TJ, who I always like. Part of me, though, wants OKC because they got a guy named Chet Holmgren in his third year. Pretty good power forward, who's averaging like 17 points a game or whatever. So, yeah, Chet Holmgren.
What's the catch there? The Holmgren part for Paul? Or
Come on, man.
So certainly he's got to be going by Chet the Jet, right? I mean,
I don't know. I haven't heard that, but
there you go.
Worked for Chet Walker. He got to the Hall of Fame.
That's right. Hey, great guest tonight, Tim Kelly, who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, 7 p.m. We'll be back on our regular schedule.
Yeah, we will, Bill. We will indeed. Now I got to find some pictures to put up when I talk about these guys. Okay, yeah, I got it. All right, next week, Bill, we have two guests.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we've been trying to get our guy Phil Stifle on with us once every quarter, and we're going to make that happen next week. He's the guy, of course, behind the STT Sports Network and host of Trending in the AM. Phil Stifle will be joining us live next week to talk about all things Philly sports and maybe a little pizza and Stromboli talk as well. And for something completely different, Bill, our second guest will be a guy that I worked with in radio back in State College at WMAJ 1450 on your AM dial.
Wow.
A billion years ago, I think during the Reagan administration, I kid you not. He still does some radio work, but Ron Adams, there you see him right there, for the past 30 years or so has been running the Monster Bash Conference. This is not the one in Cherry Hill. This is out in suburban Pittsburgh that he does this. He lives out there in Ligonier, and that'll be happening again later this month, the Monster Bash Conference. So Ron will be on the show to talk radio and monsters.
Well, that'll be interesting.
It is going to be. I promise you. I haven't done the interview, but it is going to happen, and it'll be fun.
Well, like if he's as old as you, he's obviously seen a lot of changes. So it'll be interesting to see what another dinosaur thinks about radio.
Yeah, he's a fan of not only radio, but of the old like Universal monsters, like Bride of Frankenstein and Bela Lugosi as Dracula, and then all the Hammer films with Christopher Lee as Dracula. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun talking to him.
All right, looking forward to it. Hey, as mentioned in the opening, the Stanley Cup Finals with the defending Cup champions Florida Panthers playing the Edmonton Oilers in a repeat of last year's series that went 7 games. Third straight year for the Panthers. They've reached the finals with Sergei Bobrovsky. Remember him, Chet?
Oh, man, you had to go there, Bill. Yeah, we all remember Sergei, who the Flyers decided didn't fit in their plans when they got that other wacky Russian. Oh, well, yeah, great 7-game series last year won by the Panthers, but I have a hunch the Oilers will take it this year and take the Stanley Cup back to Canada for the first time in how long, Bill?
It's like
1993 when Montreal
I thought it was 2003.
Years.
Yeah, and Edmonton won last night. First game in overtime with about 29 seconds left in overtime. They scored. So
should be a good series.
Yep. Hey, Chet, don't forget this Saturday, June 7th from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. is Delco Day 10 at Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, PA. Benefiting the Headstrong Foundation. It is a rain or shine event. The cost is $6.10 entrance fee. There'll be all sorts of live music inside and out, plenty of food and drinks, plenty of people to hang out with. I'm not sure what time you're scheduled to sign autographs, but everybody should know when that window is.
They will be free, though. They will be free, I promise you.
There you go.
Hey, because we have time, I'm going to play that little promo again that Al and his cohorts came up with.
Calling all Delco, you know what time of year it is. June 7th, Dolan's Bar, the wildest party in Delco. It's bigger, it's better than ever. We're talking 12 hours of live bands, local vendors, cold drinks, and all the Delco energy you could expect, all for the benefit of the Headstrong Foundation. Over the last 9 years, we raised over $150,000 for families affected by cancer, and this year, we're going even harder. So text the group chat, call your mom, send a carrier pigeon, whatever, just be there. June 7th, 2 p.m., 2 a.m., Dolan's Bar, Ridley Park. If you can't remember all the details, let's go to delcoday.com.
I love that.
There'll be a lot of that sort of thing going on, although I will not personally be participating in that type of event. But
it's going to be fun. Yeah, it's a shame that there probably will be some rain along the way, but as you said, it is rain or shine. Dolan's Bar does have a big indoor area, but it's not huge for the amount of people that are expected. And I'm sure they will have some tents outside because they've done that for other events there that I've been to. So there's going to be surprise guests. There's going to be lots of bands. I wouldn't be surprised if Brent Porsche from WMMR shows up because he lives around the corner and that's one of his hangouts. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. And you and I will be there, so it's got to be fun.
We will be there. And there's still that rumor out there that Jason Kelsey could be there.
Could be. We're not saying for sure, but it could happen.
For sure. We're not saying not for sure. But we do know that Garage Beer, owned by Jason and Travis Kelsey, is a sponsor this year for the first time. So that's good for sure.
And
come out, come
Bob
check
Moser
it out.
said he will be there. Bob wants to meet us, so he's going to be there to say hello.
Yep. Hey, we'd be glad to talk to anybody and stop and see us. And it's all for a good cause. $6.10 to get in. They sell T-shirts. They sell plenty of food. There's vendors. There's plenty to drink. If you like to drink, drive safe.
It's going to be a good time. And I might even take pictures with people because I hate taking photos, but you know.
Yeah, right. All right. Hey, I've got one little more assignment that I'm going to throw out here. So,
and then I got something that we're going to.
All right, so I'll go ahead and do mine. I'm going to give a little homework assignment for you and the viewers for next Wednesday, Chet.
Yep.
I saw this on another page that had nothing to do with Philly sports, but it made me think a little bit. And we'll talk about this next week. We'll some time to think about it because I've been thinking about it. I'm up in the air. And the viewers will be able to put their comments up. We'll post them as we're going. But here's the question, Chet. What is the biggest / most crushing loss you've had as a fan? Doesn't have to be Philly related. It most likely will be because we're Philly fans, but maybe it's a Penn State loss, or maybe it's, who you grew up like our friend Robbie Ellis grew up in Baltimore. Maybe there's a Baltimore game that sticks in her craw. But I thought it was a really interesting topic, and it actually was a Miami Hurricanes football page. But as I read through the different comments, there were just all kinds of things that went out there, and I thought it was really cool. I thought, you know what? We always talk about great moments and great players. Which one hurts the most?
And there will be some obvious ones mentioned for Penn State fans and Philadelphia sports fans. We're not going to say them right now, but they will certainly get mentioned next week.
Yep.
All right. I got something for you, Bill.
Go ahead.
A local Philly sports site, The Good Fight, that's PHIGT, because they talk mostly about the Phillies, the other day put out results of a survey of readers that they did regarding the Phillies all-quarter century team. So we're talking about the very best Phillies players since the year 2000, 25 years ago. Some names are obvious choices, some a little tougher. Bill, I think you know who the runaway winners would be at first and second base and shortstop, right?
Yeah. I think you have to go with Brian and Chase and Jimmy.
Exactly. But what about third base?
Third base. Boy, like I say, I'm not good at years here. Oh, geez. Scott Rowland was gone before 2000, right?
No, he was there around that time and into like 2005 or whatever with the Phillies. And yeah, he was the leading vote getter among fans. There was some wonder whether, a lot of fans who didn't like him would vote for him or not. But I didn't write down the percentages, but he did win pretty handily over Placido Polanco and Alec Boehm, who finished second and third. Very close.
I would take Boehm over Polanco, but I would have to go with Rowland, at least at this point.
Yeah. All right. Now the outfield, I'll tell you that Bryce Harper was the winner in right field, even though he's been DH now.
I would have said that.
So who would be the left fielder and center fielder, according to the folks?
Shane Victorino.
Yep.
Is going to get one of them. Geez. As Tim said, we haven't had a center fielder in 15 years. So I got to really scratch my head. I'm going to say they picked Pat Burrell.
Pat Burrell was the winner in left field. The fourth among the votes, people getting votes, Bobby Abreu. So he did not win one of those three jobs. The designated hitter, obviously, Kyle Schwarber. Now, starting pitchers, there were 5 starting pitchers named. I think at least 3 or 4 of them are obvious. So who would they be?
You have to have Hamels and Halladay.
Yep.
Those are 1 and 2. Wheeler's got to be in there.
He's in there.
That's 3. One just popped in. Cliff Lee.
Very good.
Cliff Lee is 4. 5.
It's kind of obvious, Bill.
I'm going blank. Hamels, Lee, Halladay. I'm going to probably kick myself here on this one.
You're going to kick yourself because he's a current Philly, Bill, who's hurt.
Oh, okay.
Aaronola.
Yeah. Okay.
He's had a good career, a good long career.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. He has. His name just doesn't reek Hall of Fame to me, but
none of these guys.
Wall of Fame.
Very few. Yeah. Oh, okay. He will be a Phillies Wall of Famer, certainly.
Yeah.
All right. The closer, not Jonathan Papelbon, but
Brad Lidge.
Brad Lidge, who, even though Papelbon is the all-time team leader in saves, the voters went with Lidge, who had that one amazing World Series.
Perfect is perfect.
Never 48 for 48.
Never have to buy a beer when you're perfect.
That's what they remember. The other relievers, I don't know if you would get any of these 3.
Who is who's the guy that's the all-time save leader? He's
well, that's Papelbon, who went past Mesa.
Mesa was the one I was thinking. Yeah,
I think he was late 90s, wasn't he? Or did he go into the 2000s? I don't know. But there were 3 other relievers chosen. One of them was the setup guy for Lidge.
Which one?
Yeah,
Madsen
is the one. There's another
just
one.
Retired, by the way.
Just retired?
Yeah. Yeah, like last month. Yeah.
But he hadn't pitched in recent years, had he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Wow.
still around.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Ryan Madsen. I was trying to think who was JC Romano,
JC Romero is one of the others mentioned, and Jose Alvarado, believe it or not.
Nah.
So
no.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising.
No.
But there you go. That is your quarter century.
Well, what about the catcher?
Oh, the catcher was JT, obviously.
Not obviously.
You don't think so?
Chooch is pretty darn good.
You know what? I forgot to check the percentages, but I heard Mikey Miss talking about it on the radio today, and he said it was JT, but I forgot to check the percentages because, yeah, that would be very close, I would think.
Yeah.
JT.
I mean, I don't know that I would automatically pick Chooch, but I would have to really, I'd have to do a little research between those
you're
two.
right. You're right. Because he was also great at handling that pitching staff. So,
Yeah.
That would be interesting to check the percentage on the voting right there. But there you have it.
Well, I didn't do too bad
No, you did very good.
For an old man's memory.
All right. So
Good
what else,
stuff.
Bill? We
Rest in
talked about
peace,
the NBA
Jim
Finals,
Marshall.
the Stanley Cup, the Phillies, the Eagles, OTAs.
Rest in peace, Jim Marshall.
Jim Marshall, yeah. And it's a shame. He had a very good career, but for a lot of old folks, they're going to remember the wrong way run when he picked up the fumble and ran it the other way.
Yeah, and Carl Eller and Alan Page are in the Hall of Fame out of that front four. Jim Marshall is not, and it's been discussed for many years of why he's not, but he never got the support to get into the Hall of Fame. He was a great player.
Yep, he was indeed, Bill.
Who else?
One other thing that I think of it totally unrelated to sports, but as a big Led Zeppelin fan, I loved the movie Becoming Led Zeppelin that was in theaters earlier this year. I saw it in IMAX. It's about the early years, the first couple of albums worth of years of Led Zeppelin, their formation, how they wrote stuff together, and several live performances caught on screen in this movie. It was terrific. It is arriving on Netflix either tomorrow, Friday, or Saturday. I think it's Saturday the 7th. So if you're a fan of Led Zeppelin, be sure to check out Becoming Led Zeppelin on Netflix.
I got to come back to Netflix for just a second, but I want to throw this up there because I was going to say him too, but I didn't think he had enough years before Ryan Howard. His name's got to at least be thrown out there because when Citizens Bank Park opened, what was that, 2002, it was this guy who was the one dropping bombs before.
I think it opened in 2004, did it not?
Was it
2003?
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever.
It was one of those. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was. But
this guy.
he was a distant second to Howard. Howard won overwhelmingly. But yeah, Jim Thome was certainly a great in the early 2000s.
There you go. Hey, speaking of Netflix and not talking about sports, you know how I don't watch all these shows?
Yeah.
On Netflix, there's a show called I think it's called Catching or whatever. Catching Bin Laden.
I've heard of it. Haven't watched it.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
3 shows, 3 episodes. Check it out. You won't be able to stop watching it. I don't think. It is really, really good.
Okay, I got one more for you, which I think is also on Netflix. It's the comedian Sarah Silverman. Sarah Silverman, and the show is called Postmortem. It's a stand-up routine, basically about an hour plus long. And it's about the fact that both her mother and father, I guess technically it was her stepmother, but her father and his wife, who they had been together for a long time, died within 9 days of one another last year. And it's how she dealt with it in basically a comedic way over this past year. So it'll make you think about, your parents and the good times, the bad times, what they went through at the end, but all done in a very funny and mostly great way. So check it out. Sarah Silverman, Postmortem on Netflix.
All right. We ready to wrap it up? Let's thank tonight's special guest, Tim Kelly. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show and will join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, June 11th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel, and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel, and listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and let's go Phillies.